Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, the podcast where we bring you inside the world of joint ventures, strategic partnerships, and powerful collaborations. Whether you're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Welcome to Partnerships for Profit. Today we are joined by Madeline Barry, who is a case manager at the law office of Stephen L. Kowalty and a client experience advocate. Madeline, welcome to the show. Oh, I think your mic is muted. Let's see if we can unmute you.
Oh.
There you go. Are you back?
There you go. Yeah.
Hey, great. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on today.
And can we start off? Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your role as a case manager?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been working in law. It'll be going on 5 years now. And for the case management role, I like to think of it a bit as legal project management. So I am essentially making sure that the attorneys and the paralegals are staying on track with all of their deadlines, that the clients know what's going on in their cases. I'm speaking to potential clients as well. I'm also making sure that all of the cases are staying in budget and making sure that things don't fall through the cracks.
Right. And when clients come to the law office, what are some of the pain points and problems that they're experiencing that you're sort of helping them navigate?
Personally, what I feel like I'm helping people navigate is the emotional aspect that they're dealing with with their divorces or their child custody situations. So those two particular situations are some of the most stressful and complicated situations somebody can be experiencing. They are incredibly stressful. They are time consuming. They take up every aspect of your life, essentially, when you're going through this, because it messes with your housing, it messes with your living situation, your finances. Everything is affected by this. And so when people come to our law firm, what I'm dealing with essentially is being a human on the other line for them, being somebody who can sit with them in it and through all of it, through whatever they're experiencing. Sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's sadness, sometimes it's fear. And being able to be the person on the other end of the phone who hears them and makes the situation a little less scary, I would say.
Do you feel like it's often easy in sort of a, law firm setting and in a legal setting for lawyers and attorneys to kind of forget that human element of what they're dealing with?
I think that they don't forget the human element, but they have so many things that they have to focus on. They have so many other things going on that sometimes they don't have the ability to focus on the human aspect in the same way that somebody in my position does.
Right.
I can make the time to spend 20 to 30 minutes on the phone with somebody while they're venting.
Right.
Versus an attorney who probably just doesn't have that space in their day.
Sure. And, I'm curious, what are some of the strategies you utilize when, managing cases and working with people? What are some of the strategies you utilize to ensure that they are getting that sort of emotional and human connectivity and support on one side, but then on the other hand, also ensuring that their case is progressing and moving forward?
It's definitely a fine balance. I have essentially created a master spreadsheet for every single case where I have every client and I have where each of their cases is at, plus a separate project tracker, plus a separate page for the budget. Plus, so it's a lot of individual spreadsheets that I'm checking and updating multiple times a day, multiple times a week. And then in terms of that, so checking in regularly with the paralegals and the attorneys to see where things are at, regularly checking the calendar as well, and just tracking it in terms of that. And I don't have any like automatic things. I like to handle it
Sure.
myself, in terms of actually going in and filling in all the information. It helps me remember each client and each situation.
Well, and I'm curious, we spoke a little bit about, kind of trying to find that balance. How do you balance that sort of professionalism while still maintaining an approachability for these clients?
That's been a bit of a learning process, I think, for everybody, because
Sure.
I think anybody in a position like mine, they know the emotional toll it takes on you, on the person who's on the other end. And it's really easy to sometimes either lean too professional or lean too, hey, we're buddies, we're,
Right.
best pals. And so it is just remembering who you are and what you're there for. And so letting them talk about what they need to talk about, but also interjecting and keeping them on track and trying to be like, okay, yes, I understand that this is stressful and that you're frustrated and that you are really unhappy with this, but what are we going to do next? How are
Right.
we going to solve this for you? And trying to keep them on track that way while also letting them have the emotional experience that they're having.
Sure. And when you're dealing with clients, is your approach, is it sort of a one size fits all approach you're taking, or is it one of those situations where everything you're doing is highly tailored to the individual in their case?
It is highly tailored to each individual in their case.
Mm.
Everybody has a different way that they want to be related to. Some people, they want to just know what's happening. They want to get to the bottom of it, get off the phone as quickly as possible and be done with it. There are other people who do want a bit more of the emotional aspect where they're talking to me about what they're experiencing and their frustrations and coming at it that way.
Right.
So it does take time from when you initially speak to a client, to figure out the different ways that they like to communicate and they want to talk about it and they want their updates.
Sure. Well, I'm curious, and and what you're doing with your case management and everything. That's sort of a very sort of unique, niche within a law firm that you're filling. How do you find yourself in this position? How did you get this role?
So it is a unique position in a law firm. It's not typical for attorneys in law firms to have like a case management position, but I think it's a really helpful one
Right.
because it's in between legal assistant, paralegal, project manager, and when there's so many things happening and so many people taking care of different things, it's helpful to have one person who's just like, okay, this is what I'm doing, making sure that things are happening as they should. And so this particular role, I was a legal assistant and a paralegal previously.
Mm.
And so with that, I sort of transitioned that experience into this role as well as I think the administrative assistant work that I had done as well helps
Mm,
because, and the office management type of work too. It all plays into it. You're doing everything.
right. And I think this is really interesting, and I'm wondering, you're in a position where you have to deeply care and connect with these clients that are going through these hard times. Is it difficult for you to sort of, at the end of the day, compartmentalize that and not have it affect your own emotional and mental well-being?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That has been probably one of the most important learning experiences that I have had,
Right,
is how to show up in a way that's helpful for everybody around you all day, and then to be able to come back and still take care of yourself.
right,
And you can't always leave it at the office. Some things do affect you emotionally to the extent where you do take it home with you.
right,
So what I've learned and continue learning every day, you don't get it perfectly all of the time. It's
right,
always, you're always working on this, I think. It's one of those things. But really understanding the importance of like taking care of your physical health as well. So really making sure you're, doing whatever exercise feels good for you. Making sure that you're eating food that feels good for you, making sure that you're spending time with the people that you care about, but also when you need to, spending time
right,
alone and recharging your battery. Because if you are depleted, you can't show up for anybody in any capacity.
right.
Uh, I tried. I, I have definitely learned this one the hard way, where it's, you can't show up for people well when you have nothing left to give them. So making sure that you give yourself what you need to.
Absolutely. And I mean, you're in these situations where you're, dealing with people who are going through divorces and custody battles and everything. I mean, do cases and the way that you manage them, does that sort of change, or is it affected in situations where there are children involved? Like, say, in a custody battle, for instance?
Um, how do you mean? Like my approach to it, or the
Yeah.
legal?
Well, I guess both,
Um, for me, when there are children involved, the situation becomes much more emotionally fraught.
Right, right,
So the custody situations are emotional in a different way, I think.
right.
It just adds a whole other layer of I think care that you need to provide to the client.
Yeah. And,
For me, that looks like whatever they need. If they
right,
need to vent, if they need more regular updates, if they, just showing up for them in the way that they need you to for this, because the custody situations, they're they can be complicated.
right.
It's an adjustment for everybody, for the child, for the parents, for everyone.
Yeah. And I'm curious, are there any sort of systems or, processes, procedures that are built into the operations side of things that are there to support the emotional side of things, if that makes sense?
Um, do you mean like?
Yeah, I guess what I'm asking is, how do you strike that balance between, between processes and procedures and operations while still providing that emotional care? I mean, does that require a certain balance there?
Yes, it does require a certain balance, but it's not something that's built in.
Mm,
It's something that you do have to build yourself.
right.
You have to learn the ways that work for you.
Hmm.
So, because everybody's different and every situation is different, and it's not going to look the same for everybody. And so, of course, there are things like, taking vacation days or sick days when you need them. I struggle with that one though. That's a that's a tough one for me. I got to admit, I haven't gotten that one down. That's my New Year's resolution though.
There you
Maybe
go.
take a vacation day.
Well,
but but utilizing the things that are offered to you in that way,
mhm.
and then finding the things that work for you. For me, one of the things it's kind of it helps me. I don't know if this helps anybody else, but it's blasting music on my way home from work and like singing it at the top of my lungs. That's
Yeah,
one of my go-tos.
right. Well, now I got to know who's on the playlist. Who's on the post-work drive home playlist?
The Strokes. Uh, Recently, I've been listening. It's the song "Sweet Disposition." It's been on repeat. Temperature. It's repeat recently. So those are the two main ones I would say.
Well, I'm curious, we speak with a lot of, attorneys on this show and in this space. And one of the things that, comes up, especially, and it's kind of a buzzword now, right, is people talking about AI and the processes that AI is going to be able to automate. And I'm curious, you're as a case manager and dealing with, the emotional side of things, in your opinion, what sort of things do you foresee, or maybe they're already happening, but what sort of things do you think AI is going to sort of automate? And what sort of things do you think that AI is never going to be able to replace as far as that human element goes?
I've seen AI being used already to answer phones for people, and things like that. And it's helpful for people to, I think, sometimes for drafting emails or organizing information, things like that. And I just don't see AI ever being able to do something like this,
Right.
because it is that empathetic emotional connection that is so necessary for
Right.
this type of position, and I think in law in general. I think that it can be a helpful tool for organizing systems and maybe for reviewing documents or making sure things sound a specific way, but the human connection element, I people crave that.
Right.
People want that. Like that's what I see on a daily basis is they want that human connection. They want to speak to somebody who, even if they don't fully understand their situation, can still sit with them in it.
Right.
And I think that AI will never be able to, if it does try to replace it, it won't be in a way that's helpful or on the same level. It's just
Right.
it's unable to replicate that.
Right. Well, and you discussed this notion of, creating that human connection. Can you tell us a little bit about what the role of trust is in that, and how do you create that trust?
The role of trust is extremely important in this specific relationship.
Right.
So I think the way that you build it is by doing the things you say you're going to do. So getting them the answers that they want, calling them back,
Mm,
responding to them, listening to them, just showing up for them consistently on a regular basis. Nobody can do that perfectly all of the time. Nobody can show up perfectly all of the time, but at least trying to show up as well as you can
Right.
every time you interact with them. And when you mess up, own it.
Right.
Be like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get you that information when you asked, and owning that and not letting it happen again.
Right. And what are some of the, this is kind of a double question here I'm going to throw at you.
Okay, I'm ready.
I mean, one is, what is sort of the lasting impact of building that trust when you've when you've done a good job and when you've really made that human connection? And what are some of the markers that you're looking for that let you know, okay, this person trusts me, that connection has been made? I know that was a loaded question. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just want to be sure I answer it correctly. So sometimes you don't know.
Right.
And I think that's a big part of it too. Is sometimes you just don't really know. So all you can do is try your best to make their lives a little bit easier. That's what I try and do every day, no matter who I'm interacting with, whether it's the bookkeeper, whether it's the attorneys, whether it's the clients. It's my goal is to try and make their lives, their days just a little bit easier. And if I've done that, then I've accomplished something. I think that when they keep knowing that you've built that trust and that connection is when they keep coming to you.
Right.
Is when they interact with you and occasionally show appreciation. It doesn't happen all the time, but you do know, sometimes they say thank you.
Right.
And so that's one way to know. Sometimes you don't get that.
Right.
And sometimes you can try as hard as you can and they still don't have that trust with you or that connection, but you still show up anyway, and you do what you can.
When you think back on all the people that you have been able to help in this role, and you mentioned 5 years now doing this?
Yes.
And I mean, in those 5 years, all the people that you've been able to help and sort of guide through these sort of troubling times and really be there emotionally for, when you think back on all the people that you've helped, is there an individual or a story or a case of someone that you really saw a positive outcome for or a positive transformation in as a result of your help? And if so, could you share that with us as best you are able? I know sometimes you're, confidentiality and things, but if there's a story you can share there, that would be great.
Yeah, let me see. Let me think about that. Well, there was a person who had called in and they were extremely anxious about the divorce process. They didn't end up retaining our law firm, but I spent a lot of time speaking with them on the phone. I had multiple conversations with them and sent them all the information that I could. And they had told me that care and that time that I spent meant a lot to them. And it made them feel safer, not as scared, that they were going to be okay. And for me, even though they didn't end up retaining us, even though I I'm not really sure what happened with their case, not really sure what happened with their situation. To me, that's something that stuck with me because we don't hear thank you a lot.
Right.
In the legal profession, right?
Right.
And hearing that I had made a positive impact, hearing that what I was doing did matter to them and what I was doing was helping them was the reassurance I needed that I
Right.
was doing something right.
Right. And I mean, everything that you do in your, daily position, everything that you're doing is going towards helping people, making people feel safer. Where does that drive to help others come from? Is that something that's just innate to your character, or is that something that you've been able to cultivate along the way?
I think a little bit of both.
Hmm.
I think I like to say that it is my purpose here. It has always been something that I've been drawn to. I used to be a barista, and what I loved about that work was making a really good cup of coffee for somebody and how that could make their day better.
Mm.
Sometimes I feel like that's what I'm here for. And so I think that it might be a little bit of like that's why I'm here in this universe, is to make people's lives a little bit better and to make people's lives easier.
Right.
But I do think that you still learn how to do it, and you
Right.
still can learn better ways to show up for people, and you learn better ways of how everybody's different and how everybody needs something different, and also how to take care of yourself along the way.
Right.
But I do think it can be both. I think that people can learn it, but I also think for me personally, like this is why I'm here.
Absolutely. And I love that outlook that, something as small and as minor as making somebody a good cup of coffee can really impact their day. I mean, I think that that's a great little message to take away for the listeners. And, I'm curious, in this career journey that you've embarked on, are there any sort of mistakes or errors you've made along the way that you've been able to really learn from, that maybe you could share with our listeners so that they don't have to make those mistakes themselves? They can learn from your mistake.
Absolutely. I've made a lot of mistakes throughout my time. And I'm going to mention two, because these are the two that have impacted me the most. So neglecting myself for my work did not help anybody in the long run. It just, the burnout that you experience from that is, if you keep pushing when you have nothing left to give,
Right.
You crash and burn, essentially. So really take the time to take care of yourself and do the things that you need to do for you. And sometimes it's not, people always talk about self-care, right? Sometimes self-care isn't, bubble baths, or, it's not always bubble baths and a face mask and drinking a bottle of wine, right? Sometimes self-care is, okay, I'm going to wake up at a reasonable time and get a workout in because I know that this is what makes me feel better in the long run. I'm going to go to bed early and not scroll on my phone for an hour and a half because I know that when I actually sleep, I show up better. And so really just focusing on the little things, that make all the difference. And
Right.
then the other one was being okay with making mistakes. I
Right.
used to beat myself up for every mistake I ever made, and that also contributes to burnout, and it really is not helpful in the long run. It's owning your mistakes as quickly as possible, finding a solution for them, and then moving on. And making note of it so it doesn't happen again.
Right. Well, Madeline, this has been an awesome conversation. I mean, it's been really informative and, kind of enlightening. There's some good little takeaways and good little messages for the listeners. And, I'm just want to give you the chance, if anybody out there listening could use your help and guidance, could use the help of the law office of Stephen L. Kowalty, where can people find you?
Yes. So we are located, if you look us up, we're located at the law offices of StephenLKowalty.com. You can look us up on Google. We're in Burbank, California. If you want to give us a call, if you're located in the area, Southern California, and you can also just reach out to me. If you would like, my email is madeline@kowaltylaw.com. If anybody who's in a similar position as mine wants to reach out, or anybody who just wants to talk about what I do.
Well, Madeline, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been Partnerships for Profit, presented by LeDuc Entertainment. Madeline, thank you so much again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.